Hi everyone. In our last episode, we met with Mark Anthony Peter, a conductor, performer, and musician. This week, once again, we'll be chatting with him. We'll continue chatting with him. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Welcome to Seasons of Music. My name is Christopher Eyre. Because as you said, that the audience never know how the songs are broken down or broken up for the choir to sing. They just see a performance. Some people receive it, and some people hear the difference, and some people just accept it as music.
Yeah.
So was it difficult trying to interpret a song, or has it become natural for you now?
It's still difficult. It requires a level of courage and a little bit of vulnerability, because you have to approach every piece like, I don't know everything, so let me rely on the things that I do know, and then some things hold you. So your technique in conducting, your music literacy skills, what's on the sheet music, what's on the paper, what your ears are hearing. Sometimes you can go into rehearsal with one thing in mind, and then you hear the choir or your ensemble do something, and then they're like, "Oh, I like that better. Do that instead."
Yeah.
Right. So it's never a set thing where you get a piece of music. Oh, okay, I know what to do, and then you just go. Especially if the piece is new to you, and even when you revisit old pieces, I've heard a lot of conductors say they never always approach it the same way, because time's always changing, time's always evolving, and the music evolves in their mind as well. So when let's say you do a piece of music today, and then 5 years from now you've exposed yourself to a whole lot of other different music, and then that informs and inspires how you do later works. So it's never always the same, it's never always strict, but it's always a fun process.
So you have to have an ear for it. So say you go to a concert and you hear an interpretation of a song. Do you, in your mind, say, "No, I would not have done it like that," or you just accept? Are you critique in your head?
Who isn't? But yes, sometimes I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I'm like, okay, I like that. Okay, I'm like, why did they do that? But I've had to train myself to turn my brain off a little bit, because if I'm going to enjoy someone else's work, I need to go to enjoy it and not to analyze it. It's not a paper I'm writing.
Right.
I'm just supposed to be a regular audience member like everyone else, and I'm taking this stuff in, and I need to turn my brain off. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's my own fault. But I really...
No, but I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Because I am part event planner, and sometimes I will go to a function and as a guest, and I am critiquing everything in my head.
Oh, yeah.
It could have been done this way, it could that.
Like,
and you have to kind of like,
those colors.
yes. I just sit back and enjoy. My wife usually have to tell me to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Well, the problem is I go with my friends who are also musicians, so we don't help each other.
Oh yeah.
We're just like, we have to remind each other, wait, guys, we're here to enjoy ourselves. We're supporting our fellow castmates or whatever. Let's just be audience members, because it messes a little bit with your brain, because then you become critical all the time, and you don't get to, and part of being a performer is you have to be present. You have to be present in the moment, and if you're not present, you miss the moment, and then you walk away with, you only remember the night of being so critical, and not really remembering how good or how well it may have impacted you.
Right.
The
In terms of who do you prefer to work with? Young people, adult choirs, young children choirs? You know, how do you see yourself?
There's no. I love children. I love children. If you asked me that 5 years ago, I would have said keep children far from
Yeah.
me. But I love children. I grew to really enjoy because children see life so in such an interesting way, and you get to see life through their lens, and it's very interesting. Um, with adults, then it becomes different. It's also enjoyable because okay, I know you've been doing it this way, but let me offer another alternative.
Yeah.
And then when they light up, then you're like, yes, there's more than one way you can achieve something. Especially if I'm helping them with
Yeah.
vocal technique, things like that. Or even if it's like, if they're with a specific choir and, you know, each choir has their style of music that they do. And then let's say they're working with me or something, and then they get to do something different.
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh, this is cool, this
Yeah.
is nice, this is interesting. So it,
But as a young conductor, do you find, you know, you go to train an adult choir, and they set in their ways. Are you able? How are you able to sort of manage through maneuver that?
I remind myself of my place. I remind myself if, let's say, I'm coming into a situation or an organization that doesn't belong to me,
Yeah.
I do what I'm supposed to do, nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah. But the adults themselves, how do they respond to this young person?
Sometimes, okay. Yeah.
They accept or because it must be difficult.
Yeah. Sometimes they can warm up. Most have warmed up
Yeah.
pretty quickly because they're open to trying new things. I have experienced some situations where I kind of had to win over some people a little bit. And they were a little bit skeptical, rightfully so. No one has ever been hateful for no reason.
Right. Yeah.
You know, people, you have to gain people's trust, and trust is not something easily given for a lot of people. So sometimes, even if I'm guest conducting something, and it sounds like a strange situation, but if I am giving my all and all of my trust into these people, and like 70%, like 30% are like, okay, let's do, I'm open to it. And then 50% is like, watching your side eye kind of thing. I'm not too sure, but I'll go with it. And then the rest are just like.
Because people are, I usually have to be open. And I've seen you in conducting and being a leader, part of a group. And, because you know what you're doing, people sort of accept it.
Yes.
If it go in kind of like shaky, obviously, they wouldn't take you seriously.
Yeah.
excelsis, Gloria in excelsis Deo, Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
So what have you been doing since the 21, 22? What has been your progress in?
So it's been very quick actually. So remember I spoke about that year that I took off after sixth form. I had joined the UWI Arts Chorale, so I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely doing this. And then I attended, in 2016, I attended a Love Movement concert. My first Love Movement concert, actually. I had never been before. But I knew people there, so I said, you know what, let me go and let me support as well, because I'm getting older, so I have money to pay for tickets and do things now.
Yes, yeah.
Right, a little pocket change. So I went and, just what was on the stage, that actually really had me inspired to be like, this is what I'm going to do. So I actually so that was a really big moment for me. I joined, started directing a church choir, St. Michael's RC, the Sunday morning choir. So I'm still the accompanist there and the musical director there in a sense. I always feel weird using official terms for church because it just feels like I play the organ, I play the keyboard, right? And I direct the choir. But yeah, so then I joined the UWI Arts Chorale 2016. We went on a tour to Belize, Mexico, and Panama in 2017. And then at the beginning of 2018, which this would have been my second year or first year going into second year certificate, I joined Love Movement, right? Which was a really, really fun experience for me. And at least maybe 5-6 months in, I got a call from the musical director, Bernadette Scott, and she said, you've been doing really, really well with the senior choir. The youth really love you. The children really love you. I'm going to make
She saw the potential, yeah.
I'm going to make you my assistant director. I was like, okay, cool, no problem.
No pressure.
No pressure. Like, okay, there's a title now.
Yes.
Okay. So that was a bit interesting, because I was kind of. It sounds strange, but even though I went to that Love Movement concert in 2016, there was no intentions to join. I was just like, I'm now stepping my foot into this music thing. I just joined UWI Arts Chorale. I don't need to fill my plate anymore, right? There's so many things happening. And then 2 years later, Bernadette reached out to me through a mutual friend who's in Love Movement. And she said, I need someone to assist me with teaching the music and things like that. And then when she saw, she was really pleased with what she saw, and then she made me the assistant director. And then I spent 5 years at Love Movement. So that was 2018 till 2022. Gained a lot of friends there, gained a lot of experience there as well. Bernadette was actually very gracious enough when I wanted to start tutoring. She allowed me to use the center where they rehearse on a Saturday.
Okay.
Right? And then, well, COVID hit. We all remember that.
Yes. How could we forget?
How could we forget? We continued doing things. So I was both in Love Movement and UWI Arts Chorale. And then when COVID hit, I realized, okay, things are not what they were before. We need to allow ourselves to change with it.
Yeah.
So then I started teaching online. And then I realized I actually like teaching online better than in person.
Right.
Because there's a lot of techniques you can apply to online. They have their differences. They have their challenges individually in both in person and online, but I make online work really well for me, I think.
Right. So you still teach online?
I still teach online, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I still teach online. And then again during COVID, started doing a bit of work with MW Productions. So their first production was actually virtual during kind of the tail end of COVID, where we could have like 10 people in a space and stuff like that. So I was an accompanist for one of their shows. Stuck with them ever since. Been an accompanist, served with them as an accompanist, as a choral singer, and most recently they had their conductor showcase.
Yeah, I saw that. That was
I was a featured
That was an
conductor.
interesting concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they always, groups either portray their singers or the musicians, but not
groups,
the conductors. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been I'm not sure how many people know, but it's been a conversation among us young musicians.
Is it because you think university now offers this type of degree that you find in more young people coming out and trying to move ahead?
Yes.
And not join the traditional choirs. They want to form their own and see it differently.
Yeah, I think something that I've realized, everything that you see, there's a story behind it and there's a reason behind it. I don't know everyone's direct story, but I know for a fact with, let's say for example, MW, their conductor showcase was to highlight young conductors, right? So that is why they specifically invented this. A lot of community choirs come out of, competing in music festival from back in the day. And, each organization, each choir, each ensemble has their own story of how they developed. And I think especially when you go to university and you learn music on a high level, on such a more refined level, and it's not just you learning it, but you're learning it with your classmates. You also have lecturers that look out for you a lot, that mentor you, and and then when you go through that life, you're like, you start questioning, you start becoming curious. Why don't we do things like this? Or why doesn't this thing exist? And then as creatives, once you ask the question and it doesn't exist, then you have no choice but to create it. Right? If there's ever a creative that is looking for someone to give them an opportunity, sometimes you have to create the opportunity for yourself. It's a very scary place, but I always say, if you're not a little bit scared, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what drives you.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's supposed to drive you.
Because if it goes wrong, at least, and you didn't you didn't embarrass anybody, you didn't embarrass yourself, at least you can say you tried.
Right.
And then somebody might pick up that idea and say, okay, I saw what this person was doing, but let me see if I incorporate my own ideas, I can possibly make it better. Right? And then make it, well, not even better, but something of my own. Right? So all of these things develop over time.
So other than MW Productions, I see you're part of Lydians recently.
Yes. So
how do you balance
I don't
all these different?
I don't manage it well. My house barely sees me, and I don't get enough sleep. But I enjoy it. So Left Love Movement in 2022. Then beginning of this year was asked to be sort of an interim conductor or an associate conductor for the Lydians. And the Lydians is also forming their youth choir. So the appointed director reached out to me and he said, I really need an accompanist for this choir. Would you be willing to? I said, yeah, sure. With some, a lot of things were going on because I had just left this choir of Love Movement for about 5 years. So, to build all of those relationships and then to step into a new space where I have to build new relationship with people is very scary. But it's an enjoyable experience. And then I was recently also appointed to be the assistant conductor of the UWI Arts Chorale. So I'm also that as well. So a lot of things are just happening for me. I'm really grateful.
That's good.
Really grateful to God for everything, for surrounding me, for blessing me so much and surrounding me with family and friends who support me. I think support is very important, especially now, especially with social media.
Yeah.
Criticism is so easily attained
Yeah.
that if you don't have a sense of grounding and foundation, then it could ruin you emotionally and mentally. But thankfully, I've had people who support me, people who I consider friends, who I consider close to family, almost like siblings.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for that. But yes, I do juggle a lot.
Yeah.
On top of that, I'm doing my own things. But
Yeah, because I think I saw you did some Christmas sort of on YouTube.
yeah, so as I said, everything has its own story. So part of my Christmas tradition was, I don't know if you know what Lewa is, but for anyone who knows what Lewa is, it's like the last hurrah, the Sunday before school opens, the January, the beginning of the year. And so there's usually this big parang street party in St. Joseph, and that happens the Sunday before the Monday where school is opening, right? And it's like this, and I used to go to it every year. And then when COVID hit, I was like, oh, that tradition no longer exists, at least for now.
Right.
So then I thought, it's COVID, we're bored, I have not performed in a while, I haven't done anything creative, I need to feed my soul in some way. So I came up with this idea, this YouTube idea called 12 Carols of Christmas, which is from Christmas and then 11 days after, I would put out a video, a song, a performance of something, of some Christmas carol, of some tune that sort of coincides with maybe like the season or the reading of the Bible reading of the day at that point in time, because it was the Christmas readings. And then I also I needed something to slowly get me into the new year, because I hate when on December 25th you hear Christmas music and then December 26th, soca, because everybody's
Yes,
ready
of
for
course.
Carnival. I'm like, oh yeah. Like,
And this year's going to be worse, huh?
yes, I was like, some people already coming out, and I'm like, guys, give me a break. So that sort of got me, I sort of provided something so people could listen to gradually get themselves out of the Christmas season into the new year. Something to look forward to as well. I get to do it with my friends. I get to perform with my friends. So I did, so I've done 2 seasons of that, getting ready to do my 3rd season later this year.
Right.
I recently did something this year for Easter as well.
Right.
It was supposed to only be, this is a story. It was supposed to only be virtual, but then, so I recorded it I video recorded it in my church. And then one of my cast members, he was like, Ole, we not getting real good enough. I was like,
This should be something live.
this was after a full day of video recording. I'm like, I am tired. He's like, Ole, we sung real good enough. We should do this live. And then everybody agreed. I'm like, Ole, go home. And then, so went home, slept, got up the next morning. So what, on the phone, so what ideas is of yours now?
This sounded good.
This sucking.
I think you were tired at the time.
I was tired, and then I got some rest. I was like, oh, you know, this is a good idea. Get myself into more trouble. I don't know why. So then we did a live version of that in my church.
Okay.
It was totally free for the community. There was a collection taken up, but all of that went directly to the church, St. Michael's Church. So it was a nice community building, something for them, and to give them something, you know, nice and different, because they don't really get to see that sort of music or those sort of performances very often. You know,
so what advice you have for young people who are looking on, or parents or grandparents, to encourage their children to pursue arts as a career versus the traditional?
Okay. Well, first things first, if a child comes to you and says that they want to do music or some sort of art, don't say, oh, you're going to be a teacher. That's the first thing that they always say. And teaching is good. I love teaching.
Nothing's wrong with that.
Nothing is wrong with it. But that immediately boxes them in.
Yeah.
Right? If they say that this is what they want to try, then have the confidence to say, okay, let's talk. Parents need to acknowledge that sometimes they don't know everything.
Yeah.
I'm saying this, and there are like 3-4 parents in this room, but but you don't know everything. So
Especially when it comes to the non-traditional
exactly. So
degrees.
put yourself and the child in a position where you can get some information. Talk to some people, attend concerts. There are a lot of things. A lot of choirs and performance groups, they have their own shows on television and stuff. Look, something that's really important, look at the credits. Look at the credits. Look at the titles that you're seeing. And then sometimes you will see one person's name on different titles.
Right.
And then you realize, so it's not just a singer. The singer could also possibly be the director or the producer.
Right, yeah.
Or the makeup artist, or the wardrobe, or the whoever, or the lighting, or stage manager, or things like that. So understand that, you know, like I said, it's a transferable skill. It's not always one thing. If they want to sing, they can sing. They can perform as a solo singer. They can also perform as a choral singer. They can also be, if they really want to get into the technicalities of training a voice, they can also be a vocal coach. And that is something that's desperately needed right now. You know, a lot of people don't have that. Sometimes we get too caught up in singing for a choir that there's not one person to cater to our individual vocal needs.
Right, yeah.
Right? So you may be able to do that. Ask questions, ask a lot of questions, go to a lot of things, but 100% just support. And if you're worried about them failing, then they won't learn anything, because failure is a part of life.
Right, yeah.
It is. Some may be shocked to hear this, but when I was in Form 1 and Form 2, I did not like music, the subject.
Yeah.
Right? But I realized it's because at that time, my brain wasn't ready to fully absorb it as it was. So anytime I see a piece of music, I'm like, what's all those shapes and black and white, that's, ugh, right? But then, fast forward, someone just played for church, for the choir that I was in. And then it's just the way that he played that inspired me. So I was able to, again, draw on that knowledge that I learned in school and then teach myself. So continue to support always. They won't always get it right all the time, but parents don't always get it right all the time. We're human.
Yes,
right?
yeah. Well, Mark, it was a real pleasure speaking with you. A lot of information I didn't know about you, you know, so it was good hearing your history and history, but you're not that old to go back, but you know, you've done a lot, and it's really an inspiration for young people who want to do this, want to go in this career path. So thank you very much, for being here. And everyone, thank you once again for joining us on Seasons of Music. It was a pleasure interviewing Mark and him being a guest on my show. So until we meet again, have a good evening.